Arthur Penwright owned the telescope. He called it Lunar Lander 1. A silly name, perhaps, but Arthur was a serious man. The telescope wasn't a toy, it was a private observatory. Built with money he didn't quite remember earning. Lunar Lander 1 sat in his backyard, a large domed structure. It hummed with a quiet power. Its lens was a marvel. It could see things others could not or would not. It pierced the veil of night. It stared at the moon, always the moon. The capabilities of Lunar Lander 1 were impressive. Arthur often boasted about them, to himself mostly. He wasn't a social man. The telescope could resolve details down to a few meters on the lunar surface, or so the specifications claimed. He believed them. It had adaptive optics, it had spectral analysis, it had more processing power than his first 10 computers combined. It was his eye, his only true eye, on the universe. It connected directly to the internet, a dedicated fiber line. He live-streamed his observations, not for fame, not for money, but because, well, he wasn't sure why. The telescope was his companion, more than any human. Humans were complicated, deceptive. The moon was simple, or so he thought. Lunar Lander 1 was a testament to obsession. The observation was routine, or it started that way. Arthur scanned the terminator, the line between lunar day and night. Shadows were long there. They played tricks on the eye. He knew this. He had seen countless rocks, countless ridges, countless illusions. He was looking for nothing in particular, and everything. That was the nature of his watch. An open-ended vigil. The live stream was active, a few dozen viewers, his regulars. They rarely commented. They just watched, like him, silent observers of a silent world. Then he saw it, a flicker, not a cosmic ray hitting the sensor. He knew those. This was different. It was on the surface, near the edge of a small, unnamed crater, a tiny disturbance in the grey-scale monotony. He leaned closer to the screen. His heart rate quickened just a little. It could be anything. A trick of the light, a sensor artifact, his tired eyes. He'd been staring at screens for hours, for years. He zoomed in. The image pixelated slightly, then resolved. The flicker was still there. It wasn't static. It seemed to shift. He checked the telescope's diagnostics. All systems nominal, no errors. The flicker resolved. It was no longer a mere flicker. It was an object, small, darker than the surrounding regolith. It was definitely not a rock. Rocks did not behave this way. This object, it moved, not quickly, not like something scuttling. It was a slow crawl, a deliberate progression across the dusty plain. Arthur's breath hitched. He had seen meteorites strike the moon, bright flashes, new craters. This was not that. This was something else, something new, something impossible. He had always wondered if he would see something truly impossible. Perhaps tonight was the night. He increased the magnification further, pushing Lunar Lander 1 to its limits. The image became a little soft, but the movement was undeniable. The object was elongated, segmented perhaps, it was hard to tell. The resolution was good, but not that good. It cast a tiny, sharp shadow. The shadow moved with it, proving it was a physical object, not an illusion, not a ghost in the machine. It was there, on the moon, crawling. What could crawl on the moon? There was no air. The livestream viewer count began to climb, slowly at first, then faster. Someone must have noticed. Someone must have shared the link. Arthur rarely checked the chat. It was usually filled with inanities or silence. But now, a small window on a secondary monitor showed a flurry of messages. What is that? Is that real? Zoom in. The words scrolled past, a digital chorus of disbelief and excitement. Arthur felt a strange detachment. He was the conduit, the one providing the view. But he was also just another spectator, helpless to do anything but watch. The tension was palpable. Even through the cold interface of the internet, he could feel it, the collective gasp of hundreds, then thousands of unseen people, all staring at the same impossible image. The crawling thing on the moon, it was a shared moment of discovery, a shared moment of what? Wonder? Fear? He wasn't sure. The object was still small, still mysterious. But its implications were vast. It was a tiny key, potentially unlocking a very large door, a door humanity might not be ready to open. He thought about shutting down the stream, just for a moment. The object on the moon twitched, a small, almost imperceptible movement. Then it began to move again, faster this time, as if startled, or as if it had made a decision. It headed towards a darker area, a patch of shadow near a cluster of rocks. Arthur tracked it, his hands steady on the controls now. The initial shock was wearing off, replaced by a focused intensity. He had to keep it in frame. He had to see where it was going, what it would do next. The thousands of viewers on the Livestream were depending on him, though they didn't know his name or his face, only his view. Then it happened without warning, without any sound. The main screen, the one showing the lunar surface, went black, utterly black. Not a signal lost with static, not a frozen image, just pure empty blackness, as if the universe itself had blinked out of existence. Arthur stared. His mind struggled to comprehend. One moment, the crawling thing, the next, nothing, a void. The data streams on his other monitors flatlined. Telemetry from Lunar Lander 1 gone. Connection to the observatory severed. The chat room was a digital riot. Accusations flew. He turned it off. Censorship they don't want us to see. Arthur read the messages with a growing sense of helplessness. He wanted to type, to explain. But what could he say? That he was as clueless as they were, that his million-dollar eye on the sky was suddenly blind? He tried to re-establish connection with Lunar Lander 1. The software spun, trying, failing, access denied, or rather no response, as if the observatory itself had vanished. Not just its signal, but the physical structure. A ridiculous thought. But the black screen felt so absolute. Disbelief was the first wave. For Arthur, for the thousands watching, it had to be a mistake, a blown fuse, a server crash, something mundane, something fixable. People started posting links to internet outage maps, checking if others in their area were affected. The internet, deprived of the live feed, did what it always does. It speculated, wildly, frantically. Forums lit up, social media exploded. Hashtags like #Mooncrawler and #LunarLanderBlackout trended worldwide. Everyone had a theory. Everyone was an expert. Some claimed it was a secret military rover from the US or China or Russia, a new phase of the space race conducted in the shadows. The blackout was a national security measure to prevent rivals from seeing classified technology. This was a popular theory, comforting in its own way. It kept the unknown human, contained. Others went further, much further. It was alien, of course, it was alien. A probe, a scout, the first sign of an impending invasion, or perhaps just a lost extraterrestrial Roomba tidying up the lunar dust. The theories ranged from the terrifying to the absurd. Some suggested it was a new form of lunar life, silicon-based, crawling out from beneath the regolith, awakened by, what? Solar flares, human radio waves. Arthur read some of these theories. Scrolling through the endless stream of digital noise, he found no comfort in them. Days passed. The black screen on Arthur's main monitor remained, a constant accusing presence. He tried everything to reconnect to Lunar Lander 1. He even drove out to the observatory building in his backyard. It stood there, silent, imposing, but locked, electronically sealed. His access codes no longer worked. He couldn't even get inside to check the physical connections. It was as if his own creation had disowned him, or been commandeered by an unseen force. He felt like a character in one of his own half-forgotten paranoid stories. The ones where technology turned on its master. The media frenzy was intense. For about 72 hours, news outlets around the world reported on the moon anomaly and the subsequent Livestream blackout. They interviewed astronomers, physicists, ufologists. None of them had any real answers, just more speculation. Arthur was hounded for interviews. He refused them all. What could he say? Weeks turned into months. The initial furor died down, replaced by other news. Other distractions. The Mooncrawler became another internet legend, a piece of modern folklore, debated in obscure forums, remembered by those who had been watching that night. For most, life went on. The moon returned to being a familiar, comforting presence in the night sky, a dead rock, a romantic symbol, but not for Arthur. For him, it was a constant reminder. A giant silver question mark hanging in the void. What was up there? What had he truly seen? And why had it been hidden? He never regained control of Lunar Lander 1. The observatory in his backyard remained a silent, inaccessible monument to his lost connection. He sometimes stood outside it at night, looking up at the dome, then at the moon, feeling a profound sense of isolation. He was a man who had glimpsed behind the curtain and had the curtain slammed in his face. He tried building a new, smaller telescope, but his heart wasn't in it. It felt futile. What was the point of looking if someone could simply turn off your vision whenever they pleased? The joy of discovery had been replaced by a gnawing unease. The theories continued to circulate in the darker corners of the web. Some said the object was still there, moving, building, preparing. Others claimed it had been a test, a probe from an advanced civilization, checking to see if humanity was watching, and if so, how it would react. The blackout was part of the test.